Welcome to Feedback Not Received. Do you want to hear about the wild night I had last night? Yes, I had, like I said, a wild night last night, and I'll tell you why. It's because I actually slept. Yeah, I was making a joke. It was a joke. You're probably, the joke would be that I say, like, oh, I had a wild night, and you're probably thinking, wow, she must have, like, gone out clubbing and had some sort of wacky misadventures out with her friends or some such nonsense. No. For you see, I am old, and so sleeping, I slept. I slept last night. And the reason that is actually even noteworthy is because all of this past week, I have not been able to fucking sleep. I haven't been able to sleep for like a week. And for no apparent reason either, which is even more annoying. Because, sometimes it's like, oh, I'm having a stressful time at work, or I have an exam coming up, or something where it's making, oh, there, the cat's outside, it's making you not sleep, right? No, none of that. None of that. In fact, I have had a completely normal week. And this started on Sunday night last weekend, where I had a very chill day Saturday. And then I had a very productive day Sunday, went out, visited with some folks, came home, did chores and groceries and all the things, all the things that one does. So that's the other thing, sometimes if you just don't do anything, then your brain is not tired, so you don't sleep. No, I was doing stuff. But Sunday night, of course, there are the Sunday scaries, which I think many of us experience, being that Sunday night before work or school is just scary to us. Hold on, I have to go let the cat in. He was sleeping when I started, and so I thought I would be sneaky and close the door. No, 1 second. He has arrived. Yeah? Come here. What? Oh. He has opinions too. Now, okay. Okay? What? Oh, he's my co-host. He wants to participate. What? The Sunday scaries. I was talking about the Sunday scaries, yeah. So, like, there's that too. So Sunday night, I couldn't sleep. I was like, okay, well, whatever. All right. Sorry. Oh my god, he's so talkative. Yeah, Baba. I know. Little boy. Little boy. Yes. But I'm recording the podcast. Anyway, after Sunday, I still couldn't sleep. So Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night, the same thing. Terrible, terrible, terrible sleep. It took me forever to fall asleep. And then even when I was asleep, I was like tossing and turning and having really weird dreams. You know when you have a fever and like you're sleeping, but it's like not restful? It was kind of like that. Not sick either. And then Thursday night and Friday night, thankfully, were slightly better, but Thursday night was slightly better. Friday night was last night. And I actually frickin' slept last night. Although, I woke up approximately like 8 times in the night, but I was able to go back to sleep. And when I was asleep, I was not having like wild, crazy dreams or like tossing and turning or anything. So I'm feeling rested today, which is great. And I would love to continue that trend into next week when I actually have to go to work. We shall see. The other thing is this little man right here, as the seasons change, it also makes him crazy because, you can hear the birds outside and the sun's rising and setting at a different time. And so, hopefully he'll behave himself too, because I often end up contending with his activity at night. Hey, Stinky? Hey, stinky old man. Yes. Hey? He says hello. He says hello. Yes. Yeah, so my wild night was, it's not like I'm not just being sarcastic. The fact that I finally slept for the first time in like several days and slept well is noteworthy in my opinion, So, but he wants, I have to sit here. I have to put this mic in this hand, and so I can put the cat in this hand. Yes, and we can scratch him on the head, which he likes. Now I'm distracted. We got through the intro. Took us a little while. I am distracted now. What do I want to talk about? I have to look at my list. Yes, one of the first things I wanted to talk about this week. I saw a video this week of, I believe they were like a shop owner or a person who works in retail, and the store that they work at, they were posting a video from where there was a Canada goose literally attacking the goose was on the outside of the door, like attacking the sliding glass door to the store, where to the point where it's like, okay, you can't even go outside because the goose is there. And so this video was like her making friends with the goose basically, and they're like chilling. And there's one shot outside the store and she's sitting in the chair and the one goose is standing there, and then behind that goose there's like a raised planter with another goose sitting in the planter, right? Stay with me here. This is important. A lot of the comments on that video were like, oh lol, like look at that one goose sitting up there as if it's like its own like, you know, personal pool or whatever, like commenting on the fact that there was one goose that was like being actively antagonistic and another goose just like chilling in a planter behind them. And the realization struck me that in fact there are a lot of people who do not live in areas where they have to deal with Canada geese on a regular basis. So let me educate the children for a second. The geese in that video were not being aggressive for no reason, and they were also not sitting in the planter for no reason. That was a nesting pair of Canada geese, and they were nesting in that planter. And this happens every year. It's like part of the cycle anywhere that has a population of Canada geese, right? They are flock birds, so they flock in the like fall, like late summer, early fall. They form up in their flocks. They migrate south for the winter. There are some places where the population actually stays year round if it's like mild enough. Anyway, and then they migrate home north once it's spring, and spring is their nesting season. Oh, I have to sneeze. Sorry. Ugh, I sneezed. Spring is their nesting season. So what happens when they come back in the spring is they split off into pairs, into mated pairs, unlike in the late summer and fall where they're all in flocks. In the spring, they are in nesting pairs, and that's when they start to establish their nesting territory. Now, what'll happen is, first thing you'll see is the geese split off into pairs, and they're kind of like hanging out in like little areas. And then you'll see the geese start to fight each other for a little bit when they're actually like actively establishing like, no, this is my nest. This is my spot that I'm nesting. You can't be here. So that's when you'll see geese, like one pair of geese like chasing another pair of geese and like hissing. But at that point, they're not really fussed about the people that are around. They're just chasing around each other. Hey, no, cat is trying to drink from my water glass. And I should say it's the same, like most times of year, like when they're flocking and everything, they don't really care about people. Like obviously, like if you're actively antagonizing them, they're going to come after you. But like usually you can just kind of like walk past geese and they don't really give a shit. And then, so yeah, then in the spring, when they're establishing their nesting sites, they're attacking each other and they still aren't really fussed about the people. But then now what's happening once they have fought amongst themselves for their nesting sites, now their nesting sites are established, that's when you start to see them attacking people. Because once they have a clutch of eggs that they are sitting on, they become incredibly aggressive. And it's kind of funny because you would think a population of geese that spends most of its year in a place inhabited by humans, because a lot of the places that Canada geese are nesting are like public parks or, you know, any large green space. Like even if you work in like an office building that has like some green space around it, you'll probably have geese like nesting around you, right? So they live around and with humans like all the time, or at least, you know, there are some populations that live in like remote areas, but the populations that live in urban centers, they're used to people. They don't give a shit about people most of the time, but when they are nesting, oh my God, they become so incredibly aggressive. So that the video that people were commenting on that I saw this week where they were like, oh, that's so funny. Nah, that was a goose on a nest and the other goose was the mate, and the mate is the one who is attacking people. I would say like Canada geese don't really have a ton of sexual dimorphism, so it's pretty difficult to tell the males and females apart, but I believe they take turns sitting on the clutch of eggs anyway, and like one partner will be like out eating and also like defending the nest, and then the other partner will be sitting on the eggs. So I won't say the male was the one attacking, but yeah. That was a pair of nesting geese, and yeah, they're scary when they are nesting. The funny thing is, at least in my experience, once the eggs have hatched, once they are off the nest, they pretty much chill out again. Like, again, I'm not like, don't fuck with Canada geese. They will hurt you. Also, I think they're a protected species, so it's actually illegal, at least here. But once the babies are hatched, even when they have like a clutch of like very young chicks, like you can pretty much like walk past them. Like if they're on the path, you just like go around them and they're not going to be bothered by you. So it's literally only when they are actively incubating a clutch of eggs that they become like really, really, really aggressive, which is funny. But anyway, yeah, them Canada geese, they'll get you. They will get you. So to those of you who happen to live in areas that don't have nesting geese, well, count yourselves lucky because it's incredibly inconvenient. Like for me, at my workplace, there's one entrance to my workplace that is more convenient to go into for me. And there is a large planter right there by the entrance that always has a pair of geese nesting it. I'm pretty sure Canada geese tend to return to the same nesting spots year after year, so you'll see the same pairs. But anyway, there's a pair that nests right by the entrance to my workplace, or I should say right by one of the entrances to my workplace, every year. And they are incredibly aggressive. And every year I'm like optimistic. I'm like, surely if I just give them space and just like don't, just go like as far around them as I possibly can, and then I just walk past them and I go inside and they will be fine. And every year I remember, or I am reminded violently, how much of a fool I am for that. Like, some of my coworkers never have had any problems with those geese. I have been chased by them multiple times. So maybe it's just that I have bad vibes, or that these geese in particular do not like me. Oh my God. They're like, and I'm not kidding when I say I've been chased by them a couple of times. Like, there have been many times where I've sort of tried to go past them and had to turn around and go a different way. But there was one time where I was like coming out of work and I was like, anyway, they're like down a little bit from the actual entrance. You just have to go past them. Cat. He's leaving. Bye. I stepped out the door and like turned to go like down. The goose turned, looked at me, and started flying towards me, like hissing and not run, like flying towards me immediately. And I literally had to like, the door is like sort of slightly recessed. And I literally just had to like press myself back into the recess of the door so it like couldn't see me around the corner. And I was just standing there like, and then like quickly let myself back inside and like went out and went around to a different entrance. There has also been a time when I like was going and then it came up and started chasing me and I had to run back to the entrance, and people who were inside definitely saw me and were laughing at me when I went back inside. So eventually each year I give up being optimistic about the geese and just go the longer way around. But then the other thing is, like, there is a large population of Canada geese that are nesting like everywhere. So then there was one time when I was like, all right, well, I'm not even going to bother trying to go in that entrance because I know I'm just going to get attacked. So let me go around. So I was going around the long way. And then as I was going around the long way, there's like another spot where you kind of just have to go this one direction. Fucking pair of nesting geese right beside the path there and like standing in the middle of the path, or one of them was standing in the middle of the path at that point. And I was like, okay, well, now what? Like, okay, I'm calling in sick. Like, I can't, the geese are preventing me from coming to work. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's just, and the thing is also, like, it's inconvenient and they nest for a long time. This I'm actually going to Google, but I think it's like they're nesting for like almost 2 months. Okay, yes, not 2 months. It's approximately 28 days that they're actually incubating eggs. Now, the other thing that I just read, which I had forgotten, but I now remember, is that the female will lay an egg. Hi, Bubba. The female will lay an egg about every day and a half or so. And they lay on average, like, it's like 1 to like 8 eggs in a clutch. So it could be like up to a week before they actually finish even like laying their eggs, or more than a week. And then another full month that they're actually sitting on the clutch of eggs. So, and also obviously not every single pair starts like laying eggs at the exact same time. So I think it's fair to say it could be like an approximately 2-month period where you're dealing with incredibly aggressive geese everywhere while they were like incubating their eggs. And it's so inconvenient. Like, nature is beautiful, and admittedly, when you live in a place that has a lot of them around, and you eventually will start to see the babies, and they are very cute, of course. The little goslings are adorable, but Now you know. If you don't live in a place that regularly has to deal with nesting geese on a large scale, right? Because then of course there are places that, like swans. Swans are similarly aggressive, right? But they tend to not be there. They like one pair of swans typically will occupy like a particular territory, unlike geese, which are flock animals and will like they're everywhere. There's so many of them. If you do not live in a place you have to deal with this, count yourself lucky. And also now you know, if you go to a place that does have nesting geese around this time of year, beware. And also don't fuck with them. Like, leave them alone, because that's the other thing. It's like, if I realize that when I have gotten attacked by geese, it has been my own fault. It's my own fault for pushing my luck and maybe hoping that I can be like a goose whisperer and not get attacked, right? And that's not even, I wasn't even doing anything. It's just me, like, I'm like, oh, maybe I can walk past them and not get attacked. No. And that's my own fault. And if you do anything to antagonize them, you're an asshole. So, like, leave the geese alone. It is natural. And it's also incredibly inconvenient because it's like, I do need to go to work. I need to go to work. I can't avoid it. It's not like I can avoid going to a park for a month or so, right? If there's a big population of geese or like whatever. I do need to go to work, unfortunately, for all of us. So anyway, we learned to cohabitate. Although I also, the past couple of years, for several years actually, one of my like spring lightweight coats is like quite a bright blue, and I've gotten a different coat recently that's like black and like it's a like it's not houndstooth. Anyway, it's like a black and white, but like barely. It's like more gray, right? And so I'm kind of like maybe my more neutral coat will like, maybe they won't see me as much. Maybe my bright blue coat was like antagonizing the geese by accident. So we'll see. I may have to report back because that pair has moved into that planter beside my workplace. So we'll see. But yeah, then one of my coworkers is like, no, I just like talk to them as I walk past and they're always fine. And I'm like, okay, maybe I just have bad vibes. Maybe the geese just don't like me. And you know what? That's fair because I don't like them very much either. But here we are. We all have to deal with each other. Anyway, now you know. If you didn't know, now you know. For all those people who were commenting on that TikTok, they were like, oh, ha, ha, silly goose. No, it was on a nest. Okay, like, and this is the other thing. A lot of the times they will nest like in planters and stuff because it's like a relative, like it's off the ground. It's like slightly protected compared to nesting like fully on the ground. So like obviously if they were right by a body of water, they nest like sort of by the water. But when they're nesting just like in random places, a lot of the time they'll pick a planter or some sort of raised area. So there's that. And also, like I said, Canada geese are a protected species. I don't know if that's exactly the right term, but like moving their nests, disturbing their nests, or like and messing with them in any way is like incredibly illegal. You're not allowed, don't do it. Also, like doing that would be a dick move anyway, because again, it's like we moved into their natural habitat, so like whatever. But it's incredibly illegal, which also means that, for example, like at my workplace, like our facilities people at any workplace or schools and things like that have to be like prepared to deal with the fact that the geese are going to move in, and you can't, if they choose to nest in a certain spot, you cannot move them. They will choose where they are going to be, and that's it. So there have been several instances, and what you'll see sometimes is a planter that has like big barriers like placed around it, like big metal barricades basically like encircling the planter. If you ever see that, there's a nesting pair of geese somewhere around and you should leave that planter alone. And they do that so that like to create a little bit of a sort of physical barrier between the nest and any people who might like try to mess with it. It is just like, especially in like really public areas, it's like protecting the nest as best they can. There's also times when like at my work, the geese that are sort of quote unquote blocking the entrance, they're not actually blocking the entrance. They're just like next to a place you have to walk past to go to the entrance, right? But there are times when geese will nest in the entrance to a building. Like if they decide like, no, this like nice little alcoved sort of doorway, that's a great place to build a nest. Like maybe it's an entrance that doesn't get used frequently. So like it's not, if there were people coming and going all day, every day, then they wouldn't nest there. But if it's like infrequently used, they'll just move in. And then you have to just like fully close off that entrance to the building for the period that the geese are there, because again, you can't move them. So like it's just, they impact every aspect of our considerations kind of. And like literally sometimes like depending on where you are, it'll be like, oh yeah, if you see a nesting pair, please like report it to like the people, the like building managers or whatever, so that we can like deal with it and like make sure it doesn't get disturbed or whatever. So, I mean, it's nice. Like, as I say, like, I don't want people to mess with their nests anyway, as frustrating as it can be, right? But yeah, it really, like, these are the things that if you didn't live in a place that had a nesting population of Canada geese, you wouldn't even consider. That, like, oh yeah, sometimes the entrance to the building has to be closed because the geese are there and have moved in. The other thing is often, particularly once the babies have hatched, it's like you'll be driving along somewhere and suddenly the car in front of you like slams on their brakes and you're always like, what the hell is this person doing? Like, why have they stopped? Like, what's going on? And then you see, oh, it's the geese. They're crossing the road with all their babies and you just have to sit and wait. And sometimes they're not even crossing the road. Sometimes there's just like a bunch of geese that'll just like stand in the middle of the road. And they're like, they don't give a shit. They're like, what are you going to do? And people will like try and like, you know, beep their horn to try and get the geese to like move out of the road. It doesn't usually work. And you kind of just have to like wait till they move or like try to go around them. Yeah, the geese, they simply, they're like, what are you going to do to me? Nothing. They know they're immune, which is good. But anyway, yeah, the inconvenience of it all. So that was that. So now you know. So don't mess with the geese. And also, anyway, that video was very funny because it's a very real situation that we have to deal with here. It's like, they weren't making that up and it's not unusual for it to be like, oh, there's a nesting pair of geese. Shit, now we have to. In this case, the video that I saw was like, okay, they made it chill. Like they sort of acclimated the geese to them because, I mean, if you have like a small store and you don't have multiple possible entrances, like you need customers to be able to come to the store. So what are you going to do? But yeah, the geese. They are called cobra chickens for a reason. Like it's like a meme. It's like a millennial like cobra chicken, whatever, like calling raccoons trash pandas. And also, it's real. They're evil. And they frighten me. In addition to goose activities, goose-related content, this week was the 10-year anniversary of when Zayn left One Direction, which is wild to me. I mean, I guess it's not, but it's like, on the one hand, it feels like it was so much longer ago than that. And also, man, oh man. I mean, so I was really into One Direction. I was a full-on Directioner from basically actually almost from the point that they were formed on The X Factor. Like, I was there in the beginning. Do not cite the deep magics to me, witch. I was there when they were written. Yeah, I was in it. I was in the Directioner. It was really like, honestly, One Direction was kind of the first fandom that I was really in, you know, at that point, because I have been on the internet since I was a teenager, but I wasn't before that, you know, and also internet fandom culture, like, anyway, internet fandom culture has changed a lot since then, so regardless, 1D was kind of the first fandom that I was really in, like engaged with. I was like, I had started a Tumblr like, hi Booba, the cat is here again, the boy, hello boy. I had started a Tumblr like relatively recently, like, or maybe I started a Tumblr after I got into One Direction. So anyway, I've been in it. I was there, and admittedly, I wasn't really in it. Like by the time Zayn left, it was like, you know, sort of fandom by, what's the best way to explain it? Like, it was not an active, it was like fandom for nostalgia's sake, even though nostalgia's not the right word, but like I still listened to their music because they had been such a formative part of my teenage years. But by the time Zayn left, I wasn't like a One Direction like super fan in the same way at that point. But even still, like when Zayn left, it was a big deal for all of us girls who were into One Direction. Like even like lapsed fans, it was still a big deal, right? It's just wild to think that was 10 years ago. And I mean, admittedly, like, good for him, because obviously it's so easy at the time to be like, no, they're all such good friends, and like, why would he leave? Why would he do this? Well, because they were in like an incredibly shitty situation. You know, looking back, I can't imagine having that level. Like, we know this. Like, teenagers and children having that level of fame is actually incredibly damaging to them. It's a boy. He's here now. Hopefully he actually sits down and stops walking in front of the freaking camera. Oh, well. So anyway, I don't blame Zayn for leaving One Direction. I think probably it was the best choice, honestly, in the end. And the four-member 1D just never quite hit the same as 5-member 1D did. But yeah, I was really in it. In fact, I was so in it. Let me tell you a little story here, some lore. In high school, I was like very into One Direction. My friends knew, and none of my friends were really into them in the same way that I was. Like, we had different interests, but obviously we were still friends. But I remember one year on my birthday, my friends were like, "Oh, like, we have someone we want you to meet, like, at lunch," because we were in high school. And I was like, "What?" And they were like, "Yeah, we have like a surprise for you because it's your birthday at lunch. Like, we have a person waiting for you." And I was like, "What? This is so weird. Like, what is going on?" So then, like, we went to lunch, and my friends had gotten me a life-size Harry Styles cardboard cutout, which was like, what? And then my friend told me, yeah, she had gone to, I believe she had gone to a bar mitzvah, like, whenever, like, sometime in the past month or so. And they had the life-size Harry Styles cutout was a prize for whoever danced the longest or whoever, like, danced the hardest or something. And so she was like, yeah, I hit the fucking dance floor for hours to get you this Harry Styles cardboard cutout. And I was like, oh my God, like, thank you. Like, that's true friendship. I was like, what is going on? And again, to be clear, like, this was still relatively early days. So this was probably like Gotta Be You or like One Thing kind of era. Like, this was very early days. So it's very funny because it was like a whatever, however old Harry Styles was, like, I'll say, like, I don't know, 18, maybe 18-year-old Harry Styles cardboard. So I had cardboard Harry Styles in my room for a couple, like, well, actually several years, honestly. Because also, even when I was, like, no longer a huge 1D fan, it was like, well, my friend, like, worked hard for me to get this. Like, felt bad getting rid of him. But then also, like, he lived in my bedroom, but he had to live facing the wall because it's actually very frightening to have a life-size cardboard cutout of pretty much anybody, like, staring at you while you sleep. So he did live facing the wall for most of the time, but still I appreciated the gesture, you know. I also had to then, like, walk home from school with my life-sized Harry Styles cardboard cutout, which was a unique experience. I don't know how many other people could say they had to walk home from school with a life-size Harry Styles cardboard cutout on their birthday. But anyway, yeah. So, yeah, 1D was a big part of my life. I saw them in concert when 5 Seconds of Summer was their opener, I'm pretty sure. Which was, like, again, pretty early days. And of course, then I saw them actually in concert, like, much later on. Actually, after Zayn had left, I think, because I think a friend got tickets when we were, like, kind of, like, again, not, like, actively, like, in the fandom at that point, but it was like, well, of course I'm going to go see them, because, like, why not? Anyhow, I have fond memories of my One Direction fandom. They were really, like I said, it was, like, the first, like, major fandom that I was really in, so, you know. So, just weird to reflect back on that and know that it's been 10 years since Zayn left, like, and of course that Liam passed not this year, in 2024, which is, you know, still kind of shocking, right? For a long time, I held out hope for, like, a 1D reunion, you know, at, like, one of the, like, if they were going to do, like, I don't know, the MTV Music Awards or the Grammys, like, if there would be a 1D reunion, just like a one-off, like, performance or like a charity event that they might come back together. But realistically, I don't think that was ever going to happen. And obviously, particularly now that Liam has passed, and I don't think any of them really want to revisit that part of their life. And again, it's like, from a fan perspective, you sort of hold out hope, like, oh, I'd love to see them back together. But it's like, yeah, all of them, I think, I don't think it was good for their mental health, the whole One Direction thing. So I don't blame them for not wanting to do it anymore. But anyway, the songs are still bangers. Let's be real. It's just fun. It's like good old bubblegum pop. It's fun. I don't care. I'll still listen to 1D sometimes. A couple of their albums were really good. And like I said, like I have fond memories associated with some of their earlier music. So, Anyhow. Oh, yes. And now, something that I've been excited to talk about this week that has unfolded quite rapidly. I have talked on this podcast about both Infinity Nikki and Balatro before. Infinity Nikki and Balatro on the surface have very little in common. They are both video games. They are both available on mobile platforms. Seemingly, they both have very large queer fan bases, at least based on what I've seen on Reddit, which is actually related to this. Otherwise, I don't know how much more different you could be between 3D open world dress-up RPG gacha game and single-player card game, poker, solitaire game. Like, there's not a lot of overlap in their genres, right? But surprisingly, there is overlap. Worlds have collided, and it's also very weird for me because, like I said, like I talked about Balatro last week. I talked about Infinity Nikki, whenever that was, a couple episodes ago. And then now this week, worlds have collided. Worlds have collided in a very weird way. So, context and how this all started with Infinity Nikki, at least. In Infinity Nikki, you can take pictures of your character in your little dress-up clothes, and you can post what's called a snapshot. And if you post the snapshot, that means that other players on the server will have a chance to not, like, you don't see every single one that everyone posts, but you'll be walking around in the world and you'll see a little hourglass, and that's another player's snapshot. You can open their snapshot, and then it'll basically put a copy of their little Nikki in the world with you, and you can take a group photo with their Nikki in the world. And so you can like pose and whatever, and it's cute. It's cute little group photos. And so a trend amongst Nikki players, Infinity Nikki players, has been to post sapphic Nikki snapshots where it'll be like there's a glitch. Most of the time you can't actually stand that close to other player characters, but there's a glitch where you can like almost clip into them or like get right up in the other Nikki's personal space basically in the snapshot. And then people will use like, there is no actual like kissing pose or like hugging pose or anything like that. People will just like use the poses that are in the game with like some creative angles and like zooming and stuff to make it look like the Nikki's are like, oh, you know, like a little face touch or a little chin touch or whatever. So just like cute little, you know, little sapphic Nikki poses, right? And it is generally kind of a trend in the fandom. And like, the thing, obviously there's been some debate, right, where some people are like, well, like, what if I don't want my Nikki to be like posed within this way? And it's like, well, you don't have to post the snapshot. Like, you can take photos of your Nikki without posting the snapshot, right? So it's kind of like, I don't know, like, just don't post a snapshot, I guess. But most players are pretty, even players who are not queer themselves are pretty just on board with, like, it's cute, right? It's just cute and fun, and then people post them on social media or whatever. And, you know, it's just like a little trend in the fandom, basically, to do these group shots and like with the creative angles and all that. And again, it's like nothing, it is in no way is it inappropriate or like NSFW, like not safe for work. It's not, it is not explicit in any way. It's because like that game is not an explicit game. It's literally just like two cute girls like in like a pose that implies some sort of like romantic like connection kind of, right? Like, anyway, people will share these. Particularly what I'm going to talk about is on Reddit. People will post them in the Infinity Nikki subreddit. Another important note is that there are two Infinity Nikki subreddits, or two major ones. There's one that's r/Infinity Nikki, and then there's r/Infinity Nikki official. So r/Infinity Nikki is not the official Infinity Nikki subreddit, but it's like, I think it has like 3 times the number of members as the official Infinity Nikki subreddit. And also, obviously, like if you search Infinity Nikki on Reddit, the r/Infinity Nikki is the first one that shows up, not r/Infinity Nikki official. So anyway, it's just funny that the unofficial sub is way, way more active than the official sub. So there's that, and this is important. This will come back later. So over the past week, this drama has unfolded on the unofficial Infinity Nikki subreddit, where people were noticing that if they posted one of these like sapphic Nikki photos on the subreddit, a mod would come into the comments and be like, please mark this as NSFW, as not safe for work. And they were going into like all these comments, and people were like, that's weird. Like, these aren't, by definition, these are not safe for work, and they're not rule breaking content or anything like that. Like, it's functionally the same as posting any other group photo snapshot, except that there is that like implied romance between the two Nikkis, right? And so people were like, this is really weird. And then people started posting about it, and then people noticed, it was one specific mod on the Infinity Nikki subreddit doing this, and like almost all of this person's post history was just them going into specifically these sapphic Nikki photo posts and asking people to mark them as NSFW. And that was like almost all of it. And it was like an account with really low like Reddit karma, where it was like, who is this person? Like, why is this person on the mod team? When like it's seemingly the only action they are taking is trying to censor queer content on the subreddit, because that's what it was, right? Like, when you look at the pattern where it's like they're not actually not safe for work photos, and the only things that they were commenting on, like, they weren't looking at any other potentially rule-breaking content. It was just these like queer-coded Nikki photos that this person was like taking issue with. And so then people started posting, and they were like, what the fuck? Like, is the mod team being homophobic? Like, because that's what it looks like. You know, obviously a single moderator can take action without the approval of the rest of the mod team. I mean, the point of having a mod team is that, you know, you need a team of people to do it. And I will preface this by saying that that was the case in the end, and I'll get there eventually. But when you don't have clarification, then it looks like this one mod, like, it makes you ask questions about, like, what is the rest of the mod team doing, right? And so then people were getting mad about it, and then they were posting more of them, but then they were also posting like about this. Once people noticed that it was a pattern, they started posting about this one particular mod. And then eventually, like, I think maybe about a day into this like unfolding on the subreddit, another mod logged on and made a post and was like, hey, can someone please tell me what's going on? Like, I keep seeing all these posts, something about like NSFW photos, like, what is happening? And so then other users on the subreddit had to like explain to this mod to be like, yeah, one of the mod team is like almost certainly doing this for homophobic reasons. Like, can you guys like do something about it? And then of course, then this mod was like, we got it. Like, sorry guys, like, hold on. I don't know what's going on. So they went in and like, anyway, eventually the mod team got together, had a conversation, and they did remove this person as a mod. And that has been like very publicly acknowledged on the subreddit, like, no, these photos are not rule breaking in any way. They do not need to be marked as NSFW because they are not NSFW. They are perfectly safe for work, like, not inappropriate, not explicit in any way. And like, we won't remove any posts for like any of that. But I believe they created an extra tag in the subreddit as well, so people can specifically filter those tags if they want to. Or, I mean, ideally it would be people who want to see those photos filtering to that tag, right? So all in all, the mod team took swift action once they realized what was going on, because it really was just like one Reddit mod just going rogue. But it's also like so weird because it's like, like the person's entire post history was just this. So it's like, who are you and what are you doing? Like, normally with Reddit mods, you would expect to see, you know, some amount of post history. I mean, if they might have a throwaway account or whatever, like a secondary account, but like, usually people who are moderating subreddits are also like pretty active users, at least of the subreddit they're modding. But like, this person was literally just like, get your lesbian Nickies out of my face. And anyway, the drama unfolded and the community is still a little riled up about it. Now, the other funny thing that happened was on the official Infinity Nikki subreddit, and I believe on their official Discord server as well, although I'm not in that Discord server, so I'm not 100% sure. The official Infinity Nikki subreddit had to make a statement that was like, hey, everybody, just by the way, as a reminder, like, this is the official subreddit and we're not affiliated with any other non-official subreddits like here on Reddit or like non-official, you know, fan forums. So none of the views espoused on any of those other places reflect on the official stance of the company or of the mod team here, just FYI, where it was like very obviously like a very thinly veiled way of them saying, hey everybody, like, please stop messaging us about the homophobia on the r/Infinity Nikki subreddit, because that's not us. We are not homophobic, we promise. please, we are not affiliated with them. It's like literally the Mr. Incredible, like, you're not affiliated with me. Which, like, I feel bad that they were catching flack, but it is confusing, right? That the official subreddit is not the r/InfinityNikki subreddit. You can see how people would get confused. So, like, but it like, this wasn't like a little niche, like, it's niche in that it is niche to InfinityNikki, but people were definitely sending messages to the official sub moderators and potentially, like, messaging the devs on Discord or whatever, however that works. So, like, people were mad, and rightfully so, right? Where if it looks like, if you didn't know that r/InfinityNikki was not an official subreddit, and then you're seeing all this stuff about, like, potential queer content being marked as not safe for work, then what that looks like is that the company itself is espousing homophobic views, right? And InfinityNikki does have a pretty large, like, the player base of InfinityNikki is a lot of women, and a lot of queer women especially, so, like, you could see, and I should say the North American or English-speaking fan base, because there is also a large Chinese fan base, but obviously they have different fan bases that I don't know about or engage with because I don't speak or read Mandarin. So you can see why people would be upset about it, right? And they're perfectly valid to be upset, even though it's the unofficial subreddit. Like, that's a valid thing to be upset, but, like, it's also valid for the company to then be like, oh, that's not us. No, we didn't do that. Like, please stop blaming us for that, because we swear, like, it wasn't us. We're not affiliated with them. And like I said, the unofficial subreddit mod team did take pretty swift action. And so, like, you know, I think it will just be one of those, like, goes down in the fandom history of, like, you know, as, like, a fandom joke, kind of. And I was watching it unfold in real time because I'm on the InfinityNikki subreddit. This isn't something that I came across, like, on subreddit drama or something. I was in there. I was like, oh God, what's happening? And it can be really hard to sort of keep track of, like, particularly if people are making posts that allude to whatever's happening without actually, like, linking to anything or anything like that, where I, like, the mod who woke up and was like, can someone please tell me what the fuck is going on? Where it's, like, difficult to parse through, like, the shitstorm, basically. So anyway, now, I mentioned Balatro at the beginning of all of this. How is this related? Well, someone actually during this whole thing that was unfolding on the InfinityNikki subreddit was like, oh yeah, now, like, look, we have something in common with r/Balatro. And people were like, what? So r/Balatro has also been going through some drama. Now this, I need to pull up a post because this one has layers. And I wasn't on the Balatro subreddit up until this point because I only just started playing Balatro, like, relatively recently. And to be honest, I didn't think there was going to be, like, such a vibrant subreddit community for the Balatro game. But I mean, it's obviously, like, an incredibly popular game. I shouldn't be surprised. But okay. So this is what it was. A while back, like months ago, the Balatro subreddit had a similar issue where someone had made, like, a meme. So some people in the Balatro fandom ship the Jokers, and the Jokers, the playing cards, right? And there's the different Jokers, so some people ship the different Jokers. And from what I understand, or the vibe I get is, like, some people ship the Jokers in a serious way, and some people ship the Jokers in sort of a meme-y kind of ironic way, but it's also, like, kind of a meme within the fandom, like the popular Joker ships, right? Which is, like, fine, like, whatever. People will anthropomorphize and ship, like, anything. I mean, the whole Tumblr sexy man thing of, like, Bill Cipher, where it's like, that's a triangle, and you've made him sexy. Like, so I don't blame people. At least the Joker cards have faces. They're, like, humanoid, and then you can draw the human joke. Anyway, people ship the Jokers. That's the key point here. Someone made cartoony fan art of two of the Jokers, like, making out pretty sloppy style makeout for the two Jokers. But it was, like, super cartoony, like, and again, not NSFW, not explicit content, where I saw someone sort of put it pretty well, which was like, NSFW, like, if there's something that you could do out in public and, like, not really be, like, side-eyed for, or, like, not be arrested for, then it's not safe for work. Like, it's perfectly okay. Like, I mean, okay, making out sloppy style with your partner in public maybe will get you some funny looks. But, like, kissing your partner in public is not safe for work. And also, like, pulling up a cartoony picture, like, if your boss walked by and saw a cartoony picture of two Jokers making out sloppy style, to be clear, very cartoony, very, very, like, cartoony style, like, and as sort of a meme, it was made as a meme. Like, your boss might be like, what is that? But they're not going to be like, that's inappropriate. Like, you're not looking at porn on the work computer, basically, is what I'm saying. So, several months ago, this got posted on the Balatro subreddit, and people were, like, memeing on it. And there's another popular image that's, like, a little more realistic of, like, two of the feminine jokers. Like, this is, like, not explicit in any way. Literally sort of standing beside each other, but, like, embracing each other, kind of, and, like, looking at the camera, like, looking out at the viewer, basically. But, like, again, like, not explicit. It's basically, like, two pretty girls, like, kind of, like, posing together, kind of. And they are supposed to be lesbians. And, again, not safe for work. So there's that image, and then the cartoony sloppy video. Which they had an issue with a mod, like, marking those as not safe for work months ago, right? So this is, like, a meme in the community now of, like, that being, like, not allowed, right? But it is allowed. And it seems like they went through, like, the same, like, issue, like, of this. But so that's why someone in the Infinity Nikki subreddit was like, oh my god, we're just like r/Balatro. Like, but then also, like, when I went to look at r/Balatro, I was like, oh, like, what's going on? They were also having issues this week with, like, AI generated images where, like, hold on, I do have to, like, yeah, so this person said, people did post some Joker ship fan arts, mods removed it, and the sub burst into flames, basically. So that's what happened, like, a while ago, okay? And then this week, there was something about, like, AI-generated art, and then, yeah. Okay, so this is what happened. There was some AI-generated art, like, and discussion about whether AI-generated fan art should be allowed on the Balatro subreddit, and one of the mods was like, oh yeah, I talked to the developers, and they said it's fine, actually. And then the developers were like, no, we did not. We do not support AI-generated art because, like, we are like, artists ourselves, and, like, no, we don't support AI-generated art, right? And so then that was this, like, the coinciding shitstorm this week was, like, not related to the marking of queer content as not safe for work, but... Oh, okay, yes, and then, so that was the shitstorm that was happening, and then, again, this came up, so the meme, cartoony, sloppy makeout style got posted in a comment this week, and a mod removed it for being low-effort content, and then the subreddit burst into flames again, because people were like, because there was already this potential history of homophobia, like, with, like, you know, what had happened months ago, and a comment being removed for, like, low effort content, which across Reddit in general, except for in, like, I think incredibly, like, strictly moderated subs, like, most of the time if something getting removed for being low effort, it's going to be the main post. Like, it would be so rare for a comment to get removed as, like, low effort content. Like, the threshold for that would have to be, like, someone repeatedly posting just, like, one letter or something, not, like, an image. And so then this week, this comment got removed, and then again the subreddit, like, burst into flames because of, like, potential homophobia. Oh my god. Oh yes. So then it was, like, removed for low effort, and then the mods were like, no, it was mistakenly moved for low effort, but it is not safe for work. Which, again, it's like, why are you marking it as NSFW and removing, again, just a comment even, right? When it's, again, this, like, incredibly cartoony, we've already established not NSFW at all. Again, it's like, makes you go, and, like, kind of, what's going on? Like, when the fandom or when the subreddit community was already, like, they've already had this shitstorm months ago. Then this week they were already dealing with the AI art thing, and then this happened. So this is the interlink between what was happening on the Infinity Nikki subreddit and the Balatro subreddit this week, where it's, like, funny because the Balatro fandom already, like, someone in the Infinity Nikki sub is definitely also a Balatro fan and saw this shitstorm happen months ago on that subreddit, and then this happened with Infinity Nikki, and then the Balatro subreddit was also simultaneously experiencing a shitstorm about AI art, and then also a shitstorm about potential homophobia in getting that image removed again, which already happened months ago. Anyway, again, it's just, like, one of those moments where you're like, what is happening? And also somehow the worlds of the things that I am into right now and the communities that I'm in are, like, colliding, and it's just like, anyway, makes for really fun content for me. And then also there's an OK Buddy subreddit for Balatro as well, which like the OK Buddy subreddits, if you don't know, are basically just like shit posting subreddits that are kind of like, they usually get created and fans don't feel like they can talk about, like usually a main subreddit doesn't allow meta posting about the subreddit. So except in incredibly niche cases where if someone, like in cases like this where someone can make a post and be like, it looks like the mod team is being like homophobic, right? And then hopefully the non-homophobic mods see that and then they're like, oh shit, we got to do something about that. But for the most part, subreddits don't allow like meta posting about like the subreddit itself. It's like, no, you have to post about the stuff that the subreddit is about. You can't just post about the subreddit itself because like then you just get people arguing, and there are different levels to it. But anyway, OK Buddy subreddits usually get created when people are like, something is going down that we need to talk about, like about the subreddit. So there's an OK Buddy, it's called OK Buddy Jimbo, and it's incredibly funny. And that's usually where like, it's like less serious, it's like memey, but it's been very funny watching the OK Buddy Jimbo conversation around what's going on r/Balatro this week. And also like the post that I had to reference just now to get a sense to be like, okay, wait, what was the timeline on what was happening was from the OK Buddy subreddit. It wasn't even from the official subreddit. It was someone being like, hey, can someone explain to me what's going on? And the jerkers will act like, that's the funny thing about any sort of like circle jerk subreddit or like OK Buddy or like any sort of meta shit posting subreddit. It usually ends up being a place where people can go to actually have like, to be like, I'm out of the loop, can someone explain this to me? Or like to have actual like intelligent conversations. Depends on the mod team, right? But a lot of the time, like, anyway, there's a lot of stuff that goes down in subreddits that is complex. And to be honest, like the main Balatro sub does not actually seem like an incredibly toxic place. Like, and I just saw actually, again, I don't have the full context, but I think some of the some of the dev team were mods on r/Balatro, and they're actively right now looking to remove themselves, and basically they're recruiting new mods because they're like, you know what, we recognize that we can't really effectively engage here because any statement we make or don't make is like, will be perceived as the company's official position, or like we are representatives of our like workplace, and so like it's not appropriate for us to be like moderating a subreddit that's meant for fan discussion, right? Which I think is actually a very respectable move. So like to me, it's like, you know, some subreddits you see them like crash and burn and just like implode because the mods are like holding on to power so hard. But in this case, it actually seems like the main Balatro subreddit is actually trying to do better and be better. And again, it's just like, unfortunately, people who mod subreddits, it's a mixed bag, right? Where like the work of moderators is incredibly important, and I am so grateful for them. And also, often Reddit moderators can be, you know, there's a stereotype, and there's a stereotype for a reason, as we've seen in both the Infinity Nikki and Balatro subreddits of like, you are power tripping, you fucking homophobe. So anyway, all that to say, it looks like the Balatro subreddit actually will still hold itself together, and it seems like a nice community. I quite enjoy the memes and the discussion, and I got to get into the Balatro meta, so that, because I'm still playing Balatro, but I'm not good at it. I need the Balatro meta so that I can pass the really hard challenges, so I can unlock more of the jokers. I need the jokers. Anyhow, that's the kind of internet drama that like I love, because it resolved itself well, right? We saw the people, like actual good people who are not homophobic, took action when like they realized something was happening. Like obviously sucks, homophobia, boo, tomato tomato, we don't want to see that at all. And it sucks for the people whose posts like got removed or anything like that, or the people who were told to mark their posts as not safe for work, which is like, that's just like an objectively shitty thing when you're like just trying to share something cute and like celebrate your queerness or whatever, right? And also, ultimately, it all worked out, where the problematic mods got removed, the mod teams took accountability, all that stuff. The fandoms didn't literally crash and burn, which does happen sometimes with like infighting and stuff. Everyone was pretty much on the same side of like, hey, this sucks, you know? Brings people together, right? You have a common enemy in homophobia. You can be like, fuck you. Brings people together rather than like nitpicking at each other. And it's entertaining, honestly, because ultimately, even if the Infinity Nikki sub had crashed and burned, someone would just make a like Infinity Nikki 2 or more Infinity Nikki or whatever, and the fandom would come back together on like a different subreddit, which is kind of the nice thing about the nature of Reddit itself. But it's nice that that didn't have to happen. Nice that that didn't have to happen, and we get entertainment out of it. So there you go. Worlds collide, and I get entertainment. Oh. Man, I've been yapping. I got other stuff to talk about, too. Let me look at my list. I love it when stuff happens. This happens every single week, by the way. I keep a list of, like, things that are happening as they happen. And usually I'm like, oh shit, I'm not gonna have anything to talk about this week. But then the internet giveth and the internet taketh away. In this case, the internet giveth content. Yeah. Also, in video game news, as I have talked about before, I play Love and Deep Space as well, which is the other game developed by the developers of Infinity, Nikki. And Caleb girlies, we are winning. We are winning. Oh my god, I'm so happy. I'm not going to give context for anybody who doesn't know what... I'm not going to bother trying to explain the whole everything that happens in Love and Deep Space, but oh my god. Last week when the Raphael myth was rerunning, I was stressed because I'm a Raphael and Caleb girly. I am both. And I had already pulled for Raphael's birthday card like a couple weeks ago. And I had enough diamonds saved up to get like one guaranteed myth pair. But like... and like a little bit extra, but I was like, oh man. So then they were like, oh, we're rerunning God of Tides. And I was like, oh my God. But then there were rumors that right after God of Tides was going to be Caleb's first ever limited myth pair, right? Because Raphael's been out for a year and Caleb's only been out for like 6 months. And I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because it's just rumors. But the rumors were pretty credible. Like the uncle on Xiao Hongshu who had predicted the previous, like he had already predicted that God of Tides was going to rerun, and he was like, yeah, and then after God of Tides is going to be a Caleb myth. So like I was like, okay, he knows what he's talking about, but what if he's wrong? And what if I skip God of Tides and then there isn't a Caleb myth and then I don't have either of them and then I'm going to be sad, right? But if I pull for God of Tides and then Caleb's myth does come out, then I'm not going to have enough diamonds for Caleb. And like I'm a very low spender. I have spent a very small amount of money on Love and Deep Space, and like I would rather, like I'm not going to go into even like dolphin territory in terms of spending, right? Where like I could just spend money and guarantee that I get both. I'm not going to do that because life, you know, I only have so much disposable income. Anyhow, so I was like stressing, and they hadn't, like, I can't remember when they announced that God of Tides was rerunning, but I think it was after the previous banner had already ended, the Zane banner, I'm pretty sure. So I was like, well, what if they might announce it, they might announce the next banner before God of Tides ends, but what if they don't? And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I held strong and I didn't pull on God of Tides. I was like, let me wait and see what happens. And thankfully, as we know, they did announce that Caleb's first limited myth was going to be running like right after God of Tides, like a couple days after it ended. So I made the difficult decision not to pull on God of Tides, partially because there's already so much more content for Raphael in the base game, right? Like he has like so like way more story content and way more cards already in the base content of the game. Whereas like I am starving for Caleb content. Like I haven't even gotten all of his cards from like the regular pool at this point. And even then he and Silas both have so much less content than Raphael, Xavier, and Zane. So I was like, I love them both. And also there's so much more Raphael content that I can have already. And like, I like the combat in the game, but also like, I'm not going to pull for a card just for the combat meta, you know, because like, whatever. So I decided not to pull God of Tides, made that difficult decision, and I held strong until Caleb's myth, which like I said, Caleb girlies, we are winning, and I'm not going to spoil anything, and also please nobody else spoil anything, because like I've only read like a couple of the chapters, and I'm just about to finish ascending both cards to level 60, so like I'm just about, like I'm trying not to run through it super quick. I'm trying to like space it out a little bit, because like, you know, we only have so much content and I don't want to like speed run it, but like so far I think I've read the first 2 chapters. How am I supposed to be normal? How am I supposed to be normal about them? I'm already not normal about Caleb and MC because their dynamic is just so good. It's so good. And the difference, like, because Caleb was like the childhood best friend, like the dynamic is so different even than any of the other love interests. I just but this one, oh my God, they're literally like cyborgs. A lot of people were speculating it's an Adam and Eve thing. And there is definitely a layer of that. Like, Caleb gets, like, mechanical angel wings. It's beautiful. However, other players have said this. And I won't know, like I said, I won't know until I actually finish the myth. But I really think it's more of, like, a Lucifer situation. Not that Caleb, I think, is, like, evil and misleading. But rather, MC's code name in this reality is A01. Where if it was really like Adam and Eve, you would think it would be like, MC would be like E something and Caleb's would be A something. That's not the case. And also, one of the first things that happens is Caleb, anyway, they escape this facility and when they, whatever, Caleb's like, oh yeah, and I found this fruit and it like glows and it's beautiful. I'll take you there to like, that's like our paradise. We're going to find our paradise and we can like find this fruit that's like glowing and beautiful. It's like, ugh, the forbidden fruit. Hello. And also Caleb's image, like Caleb is very strongly associated with apples. Like he has the apple imagery like everywhere. Like his whole thing is like apples. So like even like, and that's in the base game. And it's like, what do you mean? Anyway, I'm so normal about them. I'm so normal about them. Yeah. Caleb Girlies, we are winning. And I got both cards. Funnily enough, I hit 150 pulls, but I actually pulled the second card at the end of the 150 pulls. So then I got both cards and then I got a crate. So then I ranked up one of the cards and then I decided to just keep pulling all of my diamonds because I was like, you know what? Like I didn't have enough diamonds left over where I'd be able to pull on the next banner reliably anyway. So I was like, let me just see if I can. And now I've ranked up both cards once. And I'm now deciding if I want to continue pulling to try and rank them up even more. Although, like, rank 1 is, like, fine, honestly. Like, I think I'm okay with that. But anyhow. Yeah, so it was just, like, funny because, like, I did hit hard pity, but I got the card. I pulled the card just as I was hitting the hard pity. So, anyhow, that's how it works out. And oh my god, because the other thing is, like, I've been pulling on the limited wish, or not limited, the permanent wish pool, right? Just as I get the things, but it's not that many permanent pulls. And just, like, pulling for Caleb, I've gotten so many other of the memories, like, just through doing this, which is also kind of nice. Anyhow, yeah, Caleb Girlies. Oh, I'm so excited to play through more of it, honestly. But now I have to, like I said, I've got them both leveled up to level 60, and now I have to ascend both of them at level 60, and now is when I have to grind Heartbreaker, or no. Well, yes, Heartbreaker and Snoozer. And I have been, to be clear, grinding Heartbreaker and Snoozer. And I had enough to get me to level 60. And now I have to wait to ascend both of them. But it's okay. That's also kind of why I'm trying to drip feed myself the content. Because, like, I can't finish the story yet. And I won't be able to probably for another couple of days. So if I blast through the whole story up to, like, the last, like, 2 chapters. And I have to wait for, like, it's better if I just try and space it out. Although I will say, I'm kind of disappointed with the event itself because, like, the last event we had, because God of Tides, they didn't rerun, like, the event. It was just the wish pool. So the last event was the Zane event where they had that, like, grocery, like, matching game, mini game. And that was, like, so fun. Like, every single player has been like, please make this a permanent part of the game. It was so fun, this little, like, match 3 game, right? And I agree. I had a ton of fun with it. And this event is literally just, like, click button, read, like, 2 lines, and do that like 24 times. So like it's like barely even, I don't know. It's fine, but like I would have liked to fun, like they could have done like a little Space Invaders, like shooty little spaceship game or something. Like this is lame in my opinion. Like for Caleb, for his limited myth, like his first limited myth, and you're like, this is what we get. Like, I don't know. It was just like, cause I haven't been playing that long. It's only been a few weeks that I've been playing, and so, like, I started partway through Tomorrow's Catch-22, and then the next sort of major event that happened was Zane's, or no, I guess it was Raphael's birthday, and then it was the Zane, like, grocery one. And Raphael's birthday was really fun. It had the little cake decorating and a little, like, ingredient catching mini game, which was, like, fine, but it was still, like, a mini game, right? And then Zane had that incredibly fun little, like, match 3 game, and then this, and I'm like, what is this? This is garbage. Mama, this is garbage. But like, it's fine. Obviously, like, whatever. I'm just happy we get the myth, because then, of course, it was like, oh, no, it's too early for Caleb's myth. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, we need it now. We have it. So The event could be better in my opinion, but it's fine. It's fine. Oh, the other thing is, oh my god, they gave Caleb slutty armor. Oh my god. So he's a cyborg or an android or whatever, right? They're like mechanically enhanced people, and it kind of just looks like he's wearing like a I don't know, like a mech suit, but like not like a skin tight, like cyborg mech suit, kind of, not like a big bulky mech suit, right? And at first I was like, oh yeah, look, it looks great, love that, it's great, sci-fi, beautiful, love it, colors are lovely. And then someone pointed out, like over his chest and abs area, it's not like the like metal like cyber armor, it's like a mesh. And actually on the back too, there's like panels of mesh on his back. So it's like literally just like chest and abs in mesh, and then like this metal like cyber armor literally everywhere else. And I was like, oh my god, they gave Caleb the sci-fi equivalent of a chainmail bikini, right? The chainmail bikini being like the quintessential fantasy stereotype of like sexualized armor for female characters, where it's literally like, why is she wearing that into battle? She's going to get stabbed in her vital organs immediately, where it's like very obviously just for like sex appeal. And they gave it, and Infold said bet, and they did it. You know, like so often it's like, oh, there is no equivalent sexualization of men in media as there is for women. Like people say like, oh, like someone like Geralt of Rivia is like sexualized because he's like a very hot buff guy. It's like, no, that's a male power fantasy. Geralt's a good looking guy, but that's a male power fantasy. This mesh, so that your titties, so that your abs and like pectoral muscles are on display for your female audience. That's the equivalent sexualization of male characters that I want to see. That's what I want to see. That's my president. I'm just so happy that they did that. They did that. And obviously MC has a matching outfit, and as far as I can tell, her outfit is completely covered up too. Like she doesn't have mesh panels in her outfit because she is a strong female character, and she needs her beautiful boyfriend to show his abs and pectorals off at all times. And nobody's allowed to say that it's impractical, because what do you mean? Of course it's practical, because it's definitely like cybernetic mesh that will repel bullets or whatever argument that people would normally make about female characters, scantily clad female characters. So I'm just, good for us. Like I said, we are winning. We have won. I'm just happy. Anything else on the list? Oh, there's a couple other things on the list. But I think, you know, we're sitting at about an hour, and I'm tired. I'm like weirdly sweaty, even though it's not hot. Anyway, that's it. Episode done. That was an inelegant transition, but as always, I'm sure there's stuff that I missed. Doesn't matter, because it's my show and I'm the one with the microphone, and if you want to talk about other stuff, you buy your own microphone and make your own show. Thanks for listening. Bye!